Hello and welcome to World Religions. My name is Timothy McKenzie and I'll be your instructor for that this semester here at Lincoln Land. I hope all of you enjoy the course. As far as it goes, I want to make note of a few things. First of all, I am currently updating some of the material. Some of the videos I felt like were maybe just a little dated, and some of the stuff I don't feel like has enough support material. And so I've been wanting to update it. All the modules are open, but what you'll find is if you get beyond the first module, which is 2 weeks in length, and you're free to work at your own speed. If you want to do all 8 modules, every module is 2 weeks in length. If you want to do all 8 of them the first day, you can do it. I mean, you would be absolutely insane to try to do that, but you are welcome to do that. I've had people work ahead and work a fair amount ahead and doing that diligently, and that's perfectly fine with me. But if you do get ahead of the first module, they probably won't be in complete order until the end of this week. And so that's just sort of a little bit of a fair warning that, if you're kind of glancing around, some of that stuff is probably going to change, but the basic format will remain the same. Some of the videos need updated, some of the stuff is out of place, things like that. The first one is ready, though. Now, everything is due at 11:59 p.m. on Mondays, and it's every 2 weeks. So the first one will be due on, let's see, I'm trying to think of the dates, the 25th of January. And then the next one is 11:59 p.m. on the Monday after that. Now, as far as it goes, everything is due at that time, and it will be marked as due at that time. But if you aren't done, don't feel like you have to rush and get it done. If you're a late night person and you want to stay up till 2 in the morning working on it, that's fine. It won't actually be considered late and be not accepted until noon on Tuesday. So it's due then, but you get a few extra hours in order to complete it. And that's sort of just, kind of a little bit of, sort of like I use the example of, things with rent checks. If you're a renter, they'll tell you, the rent's due on the 1st, but it's not late until the 5th. And that's the way it is here. It's due at midnight, but it's not late until afternoon. And late is not accepted unless you ask for and receive permission to turn it in late. Now, I am fairly generous with that. So if you run into problems, have family issues, get sick, have children that are ill, things like that, I'm usually fairly understanding and willing to offer an extension. I won't do that for discussion boards, but I will do it for exams and things. Discussion boards, I don't think it really works to turn those in late because it's not a discussion if you're the only one participating in it. And so I want you, to keep in mind that you will get, I am willing to give you a little extra time, but that's if you ask me once or twice. If you ask me 6 times throughout the semester, I'm going to say no. If you ask me more than 2 or 3 times, I'm going to say no. At some point, you have to meet these deadlines. But I am willing to be, lenient and helpful, and I usually am. But I want to kind of give you a little bit of forewarning. Don't be afraid to ask, but don't ask too much. Don't abuse my kindness. Everything is open, as I mentioned, although some stuff needs to be updated. The term paper is in there. There's information on what I'm expecting with the term paper. There's a module or folder for that. Please take a look at that during the first week. That's part of that. But keep in mind that the paper is due April 18th, and you'll need to let me know by February 29th what topic you're going to choose. As far as it goes, I want to encourage you to always be prepared for possible problems. Because everything is open already and you can work ahead, I'm not I'm usually fairly willing to give an extension once or twice, but repeatedly no. And especially when there were things you knew were coming up, like, oh, I had this vacation come up. Well, you probably knew you had a vacation coming up, so that's not really an excuse. If you know you're going to be having a child, perhaps you should plan ahead and try to work a week or 2 ahead, because you're not probably going to get a lot of work done right after that child is born. I didn't get a whole lot done right after my child was born, other than, pulling my hair out. The second child, I was a little bit better prepared for the reality of that. So I want to just sort of kind of give you a little bit of an idea about that. Their extra credit There's an extra credit discussion board. I would encourage you to go ahead and do that and work on that. That's something I wouldn't pass up that opportunity for, especially as we go further along. I'll be updating stuff, and then I always like to give a throw out some of the stuff, although it's beginning to resemble less and less of this every year. This is a course that I inherited from the previous instructor, Marty Morris. He got cancer and died, and when he first was diagnosed, I took over his online courses sort of at the last minute, and then he died about 7 or 8 months later, or about 9 months later probably, from when I took over or found out I was going to take over. And he is usually a very humorous person. Some of the lessons are taught by him, and so I always like to give kind of a throw out and thank you to him for sort of getting us started, although I'm slowly changing it and it's becoming less and less resemblant of that. But I think in one of these I may actually even use a lesson that includes Marty. Marty was a very humorous person, interested in humor, and so sometimes you'll also see some jokes in there, and those are oftentimes written by Marty because that was kind of who he was. And then on a final note, people always ask me, they'll say, this is the first time I've taken an online course, how am I to be successful? And I always like to comment and say, there's sort of 2 or 3 rules that I say you always have to follow, at least 2. And the first one is, with an in-class class, there is a time you have to be there. And even though you could skip, it is there and it is a specific time. And when you've skipped, you've made a mistake, you've missed something. Whereas with this, it's like, you could work on it 3, you could work on it 4, you could work on it Tuesday, you could work on it Thursday. I mean, when you work on it, it's all kind of up in the air. And so if you skip one of those times when you were kind of planning on working on it, you may not remember that you missed it and not think about doing it at a later time. And so you need to set aside time, and if you miss it, you need to go, oh no, I missed it. I need to find another time. Set aside time, because it is easy to let this go to the back of your mind and slip by. And this goes for me as well as an instructor, because it's easy enough for me to get busy with classes. I'm also the advisor of the student newspaper. It's easy for me to get distracted with 800 students and my kids and other things in my life, that I could, but so I have to make sure to say, these are the times I am working on this class. I'm going to be grading. I'm going to be responding. I'm going to be doing this. And that is something I think we all need to do. So keep that in mind. The other thing is that with a classroom class, if you have a question, you can just ask. It's fairly easy. You can count on your classmates. You can say, do you know? And you can turn to your classmate and ask them, and they might know the answer. With this, you don't have that option as readily available. If you have a question, I don't know you have a question. So you really need to ask it. Don't be afraid to ask. Ask a stupid question. I mean, I get annoyed if it's a question you should be able to answer, like, what's my grade? Well, there's a grade book. You should be able to figure that out. But if it's a question like, now, is this due on Monday? I was a little confused. Or what exactly were you wanting? I'm more than happy to answer those questions. And that's what I'm here for. And don't be afraid to ask. That's the second thing I say, is always be willing to ask. And third thing, if I'm going to add in a third thing to be successful, is don't try to rush. There's a lot of material in a 2-week module. Take your time. Do a little bit every day. Don't try to cram it all into one day. All right, I hope you enjoy your semester. If you have any questions, concerns, send me an email. You can call me. You can text me. Whatever is most convenient. Email is probably what I prefer, just because if you text me, I sometimes forget about it. But whatever you're most comfortable with, I will get back to you. And if I don't, just send me an email, just send me a follow-up message and say, hey, I never heard anything, and I will get back with you.